It's been around for a while, and we've always called it the Gulf of Mexico.
We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
But now President-elect Donald Trump wants to rename the largest Gulf in the world from the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name.
Well, we have used the name the Gulf of Mexico for hundreds of years now, but as we mentioned, the president-elect wants to change that.
Yeah, not only would it be extremely difficult, it turns out that it might be harder to convince people to like the name first. Our Gage Goulding explains.
It's the question of the day, the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of America. President-elect Donald Trump said in a press conference on Tuesday that he wants to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. That's why we're sitting here on Galveston today, right on the shores of the Gulf of Mexico, or what could soon possibly maybe become the Gulf of America. I wanted to see what people think about this potentially new name to the largest Gulf in the world, but I didn't think one thing through. It's winter in Texas, and the temperature's about 40 degrees. Nobody except for me is sitting right here on the beach. But we didn't give up. That's because our website and social media never lets us down. We got a bunch of good comments on here, including this one from Maxine that says the paperwork on this with the emoji. But that wasn't it. We got all kinds of comments. The Gulf of North America would possibly be a better name for this Gulf. Rachel saying, bro, worry about something different than renaming the Gulf. Sarah saying, New Mexico, hey, you're next. Rocio also saying, the dumbest thing I've heard today. Now, this one was one of my favorites. The Gulf of how does this lower grocery prices could be a fitting name for the Gulf. Or, oh my Lord, is this a joke? The Gulf is partially in Mexico. Are we going to draw a line through the water? John thinks this is a great idea, thinks it's more accurate, like the president said. Jamie throwing a little jab at Trump's Florida resort, saying better than the Gulf of Mar-a-Lago. You can see there's a variety of different responses of the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of America. But the real question is could this even happen? Could Trump actually rename the Gulf of Mexico? The answer is yes, but no other country really has to abide by it or even recognize it. We could name it whatever we want. But there is an organization that oversees all these names, and to actually change the name and change history would take more time than you could only imagine. In Galveston, on a very empty Gulf of Mexico, Gage Goulding, KPRC-TV News.
All right, well, the question does come up, is it even possible to change the name Gulf of Mexico or any other major body of water? No government has actually petitioned to change one of the world's major oceans or gulfs.
Yeah, Gage touched on that, but not only would the U.S. have to petition other countries and get their support, but it would tackle paperwork and likely, as Gage said, it could take years.
Without a doubt.
There's a U.S. Board of Geographic Naming, which would have to then approve the name change and sort of inscribe it as required. They're kind of cautious because they don't like people changing names just for fun. They want there to be a reason for the name change.
Well, President-elect Donald Trump has also expressed interest in making Greenland a part of the U.S., annexing Canada, and taking back the Panama Canal. Leaders in Canada and leaders in Greenland say that they're not for sale, and Canada's Prime Minister says there's, quote, not a snowball chance in hell, unquote, that they'd agree to Trump's idea to annex our northern neighbor.
I want to give you a live picture.